Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal Heritage Hour. Tonight, we recognize and introduce you to one of our own frontliner worker. Our COVID-19 frontliners faced hardship, challenges, and health risk. They do all the grunt work that no one can be done. Caring for COVID-19 patients are different from previous care experiences, whether at the health institution or at home. I just read today a message from Pope Francis, which I would like to share with you. He said, pandemic has presented health workers with enormous challenges, showing us all the need to have an appropriate approach to the health care to ensure no one is left behind and to care for all in an inclusive and participatory manner. Janet Mahilum, our guest tonight, or our person of interest, Janet Mahilum Haydock, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend, whose vocation is an administrative clerk and a preposé of beneficiaire, and a volunteer and philanthropist by avocation. Her story tonight is from Janet with Love, which was part of the 150 Canada celebration through the National Film Board of Canada as a volunteer in 2017. Her story won second prize at World Press Photo Digital Story in Amsterdam, Netherlands in 2018. Legacies 150 are stories exploring legacy and inheritance 150 years into Canada's collective journey. Janet's daughter, Jennifer, reflects on her mother's journey as well as her own. So tonight, we continue Janet's journey. For our panelists for tonight, we have Stephanie Valenzuela on my left, the Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal Communication Director. We have Rebecca Aguilar on my extreme right. She's one of the Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal Director. And Nancy Nakaridis at Janet's left is one of the Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal's Director. So we start off with Stephanie that will ask Janet. Okay, Steph, open up.
Thank you, Tita. First of all, I want to thank you for being with us tonight, for taking the time to tell us your story. We truly appreciate not only having you here, but all the work that you've done prior to the pandemic and especially during the pandemic. So first of all, I would like to ask you, given your experience in the health and services field, what was for you the most challenging part of working as a caregiver during the pandemic?
Working as a caregiver in pandemic was really hard because we have 6 people in my family who lives in our home. So what happened? I decided not to work in the nursing home because I want to protect my family through the pandemic. But what happened? My husband and my mother ended up having COVID. Oh. So I ended up taking care of them during the pandemic, and it was very challenging because I was working full time and at the same time taking care of my husband and my mother.
I understand. So after your mom and your husband, after they were relieved of COVID, were you able to go back to work, or did you remain at home or with your other jobs?
I decided to go back to work as a COVID agent at the vaccination site because I always wanted to help during the vaccination. So I couldn't work right away. So I have to wait until I have my first vaccine
Mhm.
before I was able to work. And thankfully, after 1 week that the agency called me, I had my COVID vaccine. So I started working since April as a COVID aid agent at the Bill Dornan Arena in Plamondon, only on weekends because that's the only availability I can work with as a part-time worker.
Perfect.
Okay. So Janet, when you went back, before that, you were working in the CSSLD.
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
So
I work.
what can you compare the care that you can give a COVID-19 patient, because you took care of your husband and your mother, and with the care that you have been given in the CSSLDs?
Before I started at CHSLD, I have to I have to do for training for the infectious control because they cannot accept me if I'm not registered to do all those things. So I had a full day of seminar before I can start working at the nursing home. So it was really hard because I have like they're showing me how to like hand washing, how to protect myself, how to how to use the PPE and everything. But I'm very grateful because when I went to Gilmore College, I've learned all that. So for me, it was just easy training, but just to remind myself that the COVID-19 is a very serious pandemic because I'm still hesitant to work in the nursing home, but I really want to go back to work during COVID time because I really like helping the elderly.
Steph, do you have any follow-up, with the first question you did? Maybe you can expand it more.
Yes. So I understand that there was you weren't able to actually work in the residences or the CHSLD during the COVID period. But given all of your experience as a caregiver in the past, for you, what do you find is most difficult as a caregiver, or what is the most challenging part of being a caregiver, even prior to the pandemic?
I think the hardest part is the like because I work through an agency and they send me different places. So I go in a private home and the nursing home, and in the nursing home it's very difficult because all you see are like elderly being alone a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're waiting the they're waiting in the elevator for for someone to visit them, and I always try to reassure them that maybe tomorrow your son or your daughter or mother will visit you. I think that's the hardest part because as a Filipino, we never put our parents in the nursing home,
Yeah.
and I think it's very heartbreaking for me to see, but I've learned how to cope with it, and I'm just being grateful that I'm able to help some of them.
I was fascinated with your love story. It's like a fairy tale. And your superwoman quality is amazing. Now, my question is, we Filipinos are noted for respect and passionate treatment of our elders. What advice can you give the new generation on this matter?
The advice that I can give to the young generation is to continue our well-known tradition for respecting towards the elderly. Always practice compassion as the way our parents are teaching us to be a better human being.
Yeah.
I think this is why I think it is in our heritage that we bring us with our culture, as you said, expect the elderly. The reason I pass you to Rebecca, because you were so touched by seeing these elderly in long-term places being alone. And, and if possible, you need more people to be with them. And you meet, and you have met this in long-term, working as preposé beneficiaire, that you want to help them, but your time and your are constrained because of staffing problems, for sure.
Yes, it's in the nursing home right now. It's like the morning shift. They have 8 residents they have to take care of, and it's really a lot for one PAB, to do all those things, because they have to do shower, they have to wake them up, and also they have to bring them to the dining table for breakfast and lunch. And I saw them there, and they're really exhausted, but because they like working as a PAB, so for them it's like they are very happy. They are very happy helping all those elderly, and it's mostly like 90% over there that I'm working with are Filipinos.
Okay, so the emerging of the COVID-19, which is really quite unpredictable and different from the care from just any other diseases. So when you took care of I'll bring you back to taking care of your mother and your husband, because your care must be, is different. And what challenges with the COVID-19 when you took care of them that you really, or what care did you have to do or change from what the traditional care you give with your patients?
Okay, for my patients or for my
the two, because the COVID-19 is, you don't know how to take it because it's a new emerging disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I found out that my husband had COVID, and then after 1 week we have to be all tested, my 3 children, my mother and myself, and then I found out that my mother had COVID. It was very hard because my mother had a heart surgery the year before, and I was really scared, and because she's 81 years old. And what happened, we have to we have to transfer my children who lives upstairs downstairs, and then I have to separate my mother from my son who share a room, and my husband. So I didn't sleep with my husband because I'm so scared to get a COVID, because who's gonna take care of them? So I ended up sleeping in the couch for 1 month, and my husband was saying like, you don't love me anymore because you don't want the COVID. I said, if I have the COVID, who's gonna take care of them? So it was really hard because I was working full time. I was working full time 5 days a week, taking care of my husband and my mother. So we ended up in quarantine for almost 6 weeks at home. So it was really hard, but thankfully we pray a lot, and we're grateful that we don't have to go to the hospital. So that's one of the best thing that my husband was saying, like, I'm not worried now, and my mother was saying that I'm not worried now to be sick because we already have Janet who will take good care of us. So I'm so happy and so proud of myself.
Very good. So maybe we will have Nancy's part of her question to you. Nancy? What?
Hi, Janet. I have read your beautiful video, and I was so impressed. My question is, what inspired you to start a nonprofit organization?
I started our not-for-profit foundation 12 years ago, but before that, I always been helping my family when I went to Manila. So I decided to start, I told to myself, when I reach 40 years old, I would like to have my own not-for-profit foundation and to help children go to school. So when I went home in 2009, I did post on my hometown that I'm looking for 10 high school scholars whose average are 85 years old. Whose average is 85 and above. And then I will support their 4 years high school with uniform and with school supplies and fare, and also give them allowance. That's how I started the foundation.
Okay.
Were you able to start the foundation completely on your own, or was it through the help of your family and friends here in Canada?
No, I started it with my own, and then when I started it, I have a budget. Like I got paid from my work, so I put like a specific amount for how much I have to spend with the 10 scholars, and then later I was thinking to myself how I'll be able to afford this. So I decided to go back to school to study nursing aid at Gilmore College at 40 years old. And I'm so happy that Mrs. Karobi let me do 3 payments on my tuition fees so that I'll be able to continue my schooling. And then luckily I graduated with all my beautiful teachers like Miss Amy and Miss Terry and Madam Sophie. And it was really amazing because after I graduated, I was able to find a job right away at Chateau Westmount. So all my weekend income from Chateau Westmount, I put everything that to our foundation. So I literally working part-time just to support our foundation on the weekend.
That's amazing. You have such a big heart to do something like that already with, working full time, caring for your family, your mother, to put that much time and effort into giving back to people that you don't necessarily know. That's just amazing work. And I commend you for that. Tita Emily, do you have any questions?
Yeah, well, anybody can just snap in, because I might also change gear from the health to really her story, which is really where the legacy and the heritage comes into place. So Janet, how did the National Film Board able to find you and have your story?
Yeah, this is very interesting because sometime in 1999, I lost my work before I started working at Zim, and there's one filmmaker, Helen Kadowski. She was doing a film about immigrants who studied after not having a job in Montreal. And then we always keep in touch since 1999. And she always we always keep in touch, like how I'm doing. And it's on her mind that she always wanted to do a story about me. So when Canada approached her, because she was working for National Film Board for 30 years, when they did like 150 story with different people, she said that I know my candidate is already Janet Haydock. So I was so happy because I never thought of all the people in Montreal to be being chosen, to be part of the Canada 150 legacy. And in the beginning, I was hesitant because I said, I don't think I have a story. But when she started doing all my love story and everything, she said I was the perfect candidate. So I was so grateful.
Janet,
So can you share it with us?
For the story?
Well, maybe just a synopsis of, that really stands out in that legacy.
Yes, because when she found out that I married Danny through pen pal, she said I never heard about pen pal writing. So for 2 years. And before that, when I was in the Philippines, I never, I'm sorry, but I always wanted to marry like a white guy because my aunt in Sweden, when she came home, she has two beautiful children and they're white with the blue eyes. So I was 14 at the time. So I told to my mother that when I grow up, I want to marry a white guy. And then I never had any Filipino boyfriend, but I started very young writing when I was in high school on our elective class so that we can learn how to write English and everything. So I started doing pen pal when I was 13. And I have so many pen pal all over the world. But I was very blessed because Danny always wanted to marry an Oriental woman. So I posted my picture in Toronto just for fun. And then my husband bought that booklet with my name and picture on it. And he started writing with me. So we started writing with each other for 2 years. And then he proposed while writing to me, and he went to the Philippines. And he arrived in the Philippines November 30, and we got married December 12. So it was like a 2-week,
Courtship.
courtship. And I even told him that I think it was me who asked you to marry me. He said, no, it was me. But I said, no, I think it was me. So we got married in the Philippines. And when the judge told him that this is for life, and Danny said, is this a shotgun wedding? Because he didn't know that there's no divorce in the Philippines. And he said, this is the right woman for me because I'll be married for life. So we're going to be married 31 years this year.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. I
Thank
think Nancy will wants a follow-up question or, in that line. Nancy?
It's not on that line. It's just, I would just want to know what prompted Janet to give back to her hometown.
To my hometown, since I was young, I always wanted to help people. And then the opportunity came to Canada, and it makes my dream come true. And I don't know, because even in my hometown, everybody's saying like we're not rich. We are. I came from 9 children, and we don't have. Sorry, we don't have a lot of money. My father died when I was 17, so my mother has to raise us with 9 children. So I think for me to be able to get out of the poverty is to able to marry a white guy. So I don't know, maybe it's in my mind that if I marry a white guy, I'll become rich, but it's not true at all. I came to Canada. I still have to work hard, but I think helping is really in our blood because I have a brother who's a priest, and he's very good with his parishioners. And for me, it's like even if I don't have a lot of money, if I'm helping, I'm very happy. And I don't know, it's just me. I always wanted to help a lot of people, and I always wish that I have a lot of money to help more, but I can only work to help because I didn't marry a rich guy, but he loves me very much, and I'm very thankful for that.
Oh, that's very
Okay, I
good.
have a question. Ani,
Yeah, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
going back to your experience as a caregiver, you must have heard or seen how the elderly are mistreated. Now, can this elderly abuse can be prevented, do you think? Or how? By how?
Okay, because on the nursing home I was working, there are cameras in and out of the facilities, so it's very hard for the worker to do the bad stuff. And also uh the only thing in the nursing home that I feel bad is like there's a little bit of neglect, because there's so many residents and there's less people, and it's a very sensitive issue to talk about, because I have to protect myself, and also the the resident that I'm working with.
So can you share with us what type of volunteer that you have involved yeah, what your volunteerism in your community?
Yes, the volunteer I do during the pandemic, if you're talking about the pandemic, is
Yeah.
doing groceries for my friends who are not allowed to go out. They usually like send us a list what they want us to buy, and then after we deliver them to their door, and then they send us they either put the money on the envelope so that they can put it in the mailbox. So I've been doing that since April last year until now. I have a few friends in South Shore and in Montreal that I do. And mostly it's my husband's family side who are 70 years old and over. And the other volunteer I do is during tax season. I volunteer taxes for my sister-in-law um, who cannot afford to pay an accountant. So I do that also. And also I volunteer at school during book fair at on my son's school. Um, that's mostly volunteer I do so far.
So this is actually going back to the period when you were like in pen pal communication with your husband. I was wondering, after your arrival here in Montreal or in Canada, what was the most culture shock for you? What was the biggest culture shock as a Filipina that has never gone out of the Philippines, arriving in Canada, being married? What was the biggest culture shock for you?
The culture shock that I experienced when I arrived is the weather was really bad, because I arrived in October, but I was so happy to see the snow in November, because you always see it on TV. And also the food. The food was because when I arrived here, I was living with my parents-in-law for 2 years, because we couldn't afford to have our own apartment. So we rented a room at my parents-in-law. But after 2 months, when I arrived, I started working right away. I looked for work, and I took the metro without knowing where I'm going. And my parents-in-law are very supportive of me. And it's very hard, because my mother-in-law was scared that I don't speak English when I arrived. And when I talked to her, she was so happy that I was able to speak English, because she was so scared that we will not be able to communicate. So when I talked to her in English, it was not as fluent as now. And she was so happy. She said, you are the lady I've been putting. She said that when she goes to church, she put these little pennies going to China. But I told her, I'm not Chinese, I'm from Philippines. She said, no, it was for you, because you are from Asia. She said she been wanting to know people from Asia. So she learned a lot of things about Asia. But one thing she was mentioning to me, that she asked me if I really love her son, because she was worried that it was too fast that me and my husband got married. And then as the years goes by, she always said, like, you are really the wife that my husband was looking for, and she always treated me as her own daughter. She never treated me as an in-law.
What has your daughter learned from your story, from the story that you shared at the legacy, or even not your daughter, your children?
The lesson that my daughter learned from my story is like, she was saying that Filipino culture are very loving. They always take care of their elderly, always respectful. And she was very happy that my mother was able to live with us for 13 years. And also, she likes the Filipino food, but she has so many issues about like Filipinas, like working as a caregiver. That's why she always wanted to go back. She always wanted to go to school because she doesn't wanna she doesn't wanna ended like living on the street. The way she thinks that Filipinos are like came to Canada because there's no other way out in the Philippines, and she always value education. So that's the one thing that she learned from Filipinos, that always respect the elders, always be grateful what we have. And but sorry, it's very hard for her to follow all the Filipino ways, because she doesn't like the idea that example, like at school, that we're forcing them to have like 100% and on every exam. The way she likes me is and my husband, that we always tell them that do your best to study and pass the exam. You don't have to be perfect. And she said that she's grateful for that I never push her to have a perfect score and this and that. And she's very happy for that.
Okay, so okay, with all the experience that you have, what really stands out that you are able to share with us that you can, or else leave it to your children, the experience you had with your work, you know?
Actually, my children, they really admire me that I work so hard, but they're worried about me that I work so much for other people. They always said like, Mom, you have to learn how to stop, like to relax. But I do a lot of, I have a lot of outlet how to relax. I have very good time management, and they admire me for that, because and they admire me that I never complain even if I'm tired. They always said like I'm just like a happy person. Like when I come from work, they ask me how was work, and I said work is excellent today. And then they know that my eye bags, like they can tell on my face that I'm really tired. But they always said like, because I have a foundation to help with, and also helping the children to go to school, they are just very happy that I'm healthy, and me too, I'm happy that I'm healthy. But they are worried about me that I work so hard. But I keep telling them that do not worry about me, because I am very healthy and I take good care of myself.
With your heavy schedule, having a full-time job, having a family to care, and the mother to care, how did you manage your all these things? How are you able to accomplish your projects?
Oh, for the projects, I didn't even mention that during the pandemic, I do a lot of plant raising. I buy and sell plants, deliver plants all over Montreal. I'm just so motivated, you know. I have a lot of motivation on myself, and my children know that. I'm very motivated mother, and also I'm very happy that I have a very good time management. I always have time also to see my friends, to have coffee or tea. I
Yeah.
always squeeze them on my schedule, and even I have a date night with my husband once a week. Even we just have for coffee. We keep in touch, like what's happening during the week. We have a date night, and I love it because we just talk about how the week goes on, and it's I keep the love alive because of my busy schedule. I cannot say that I prioritize my family, but they are part of my schedule, and I'm really good on time management, so I accomplish everything.
If ever one day COVID calms down and you're able to go back to work as a caregiver, what do you believe is the main thing the government should work on to improve your conditions and to help you guys out as caregivers?
I heard right now that the Ligo government are giving more money to the PAB for $26 per hour.
Mhm.
I truly believe that the PAB deserve $35 an hour, not only $26, but it's the budget they have. It's very, I don't know how the budget the government have, but the caregiver are really exhausted.
Yeah.
Even even after the COVID, because the same work, more work during the COVID, but it's the same work every day.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that the government will recognize the PAB more, because the PAB works tirelessly on their profession, and they're really devoted. So I'm hoping that the government will be able to recognize them now.
Aside from increasing the pay, though, will that complement the fact that you still have the same amount of work for for a higher pay? Like, does the pay really like alleviate the work that you're putting into, or do you feel like the government, aside from increasing your pay, should probably hire more people or divide the work between, caregivers, or maybe add extra shifts? Like, because I know that the pay is important in recognition of what you do, but aside from the pay, there must be other things that should help you guys in terms of the workload.
Yes, I would suggest actually like six residents per one PAB, because 8 is really a lot. Because if you have to give shower 3 in on your 7 hour shift, that's really a lot. So some of them are really exhausted. Sometimes they want to take their lunch, but because they're exhausted, they eat only like 15 minutes lunch, and then they take a nap 30 minutes to catch up with the energy, because they know when they come back there's more work for them. It's really sad what's happening in the nursing home right now, but we need an organization who will be able to protect them and let them know what's happening inside. But I wanted to start helping them through the PAB, but it's a lot of work, and I need people that are in the higher level, but I don't know a lot of higher level people. It's very hard to it's very hard for me to get to the like politicians or something like that.
It's difficult to have somebody to advocate for the needs that
Exactly. I wanted to advocate for them, but I need somebody beside me,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's
My next question for you actually is, given the fact that you have a mother that you've been caring for at home, and not everyone has that privilege of having to care for their parents at home. We have an aging population of Filipinos here. Some of them go back to the Philippines to retire, but some choose to stay here to stay with their families. Do you think that we have enough support as Filipinos to care for our elders? Because you know how it is to be in a residence. Like, it would be very difficult for us to want to put our parents in residences. So do you feel like we have an alternative here in Montreal to care for our elders here?
In Montreal, I don't know if there's a, I don't know, because I live in South Shore, and it's only in South Shore. I only knew that it's only my mother who lives with us, because most of their parents are in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And they always tell me, like, how are you able to take care of your mother, you know? And here in South Shore, we don't even have like a place where I can bring my mother in South Shore for Filipinos who doesn't speak English or French. We don't have that here in South Shore. I don't know in Montreal if they have it. Like a daycare for elderly.
No,
We don't have it.
No, we don't have that here.
Yeah.
But there are daycares, which is, even though you speak Filipino, I think you can be accommodated. You are being picked up by the STM, once a week. They call it a daycare center.
Yeah,
They can offer you activities.
Yeah, we have CLSC nurses that can come into the homes, depending on the needs of the patients. But that's the issue I find when it comes to different communities, is that you don't always have a guarantee that the person coming to you speaks the language and can communicate properly with you. So that's the hard part, I find.
We will have our intermittent break, and we will be back.
Philippines sa secret history, according to our geography. Manila is the capital city, that is from the other country. Metro Manila, Quezon City, Caloocan, Pasay, Makati, Marikina, Pasig, Saputi, Malabon, Las Piñas, Paranaque. From the north, Batanes, Apari, Ilocos or Ilocos Norte, Isabela, Cagayan Valley, Mountain Province, La Union, Baguio City, Nueva Ecija, Nueva Vizcaya, Tarlac, Pangasinan, Pampanga, Zambales, Bataan, Abra, Bulacan, Cavite, Langan, Laguna. Now let's go to the southern Luzon, Camarines, Norte, Quezon, Albay, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Masbate, Sorsogon. Then we have 3 islands more, Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon. Then down to Visayan Shore, Philosophy, sugar, coconut, and corn. Cebu, Mactan, Mandawi, Bohol, Samar, Liti, Iloilo, Capitan, Antique, Palawan, Negros, Bacolod, City, Dumaguete. Now let's go to the land of promise, the land of Mindanao. Bukidnon, Sambuanga, Misamis, Mambahaw, Butuan, Agusan, Surigao, Cagayan de Oro, Iligan, Osamis, and the 3 provinces of Davao, Davao, Sol Oriental, del Norte, Cotabato, Lanao, Solo, Tawi-Tawi. Philippines sa secret history. Manila is the capital city. All tourists are invited to see. According to our geography, Philippines is a beautiful country.
Yeah. Okay, so Janet, okay, fine. As you were speaking about your children, what values that is tangible or not tangible that you practice that your children are able to bring as they grow into a second generation, that they can hold on to the Filipino culture?
I can say that, actually, my little boy, Alice, was telling me that he will never put me in a nursing home. So I told him that I have to put that on writing or audio because I don't want him to change his mind, because I talked to them about my work, how the elderly, how the parents has been put to a nursing home. My children always wanted me to live with them, just like my mother lives with us. I think that's the one thing that I can. I know that my children will be able to do that for me because they see it with my mother. And also, my children, they always, we are very lucky that they've been good children, because I always insist the Filipino culture, like respecting your parents, respecting the elders, and be grateful what we have. And most they know the Filipino culture is just like they're not really exposed a lot to the community, especially during the COVID. But we go to like potlucks, at the Filipino community of South Shore in South Shore. So I'm hoping that my children learn a lot from me. And I know that they are hardworking as like me. So that's the thing that they say, that Filipinos are very hardworking. Hardworking for the family, and hardworking to help the family back home, and hardworking to help other people that they don't even know, that they're not related.
Tita Janet, I just wanted to know, what was the first thing, or what was your first impression when you met him at the airport? Like, how did you feel when you saw him the first time?
I was so happy to see him because he was so tall. He was like 6'1", and he has hazel eyes. And I said, on my back of my mind, like, oh my gosh, when I have children, it's gonna be a wonderful children with blue eyes. I'm like really mesmerizing, because he was so tall, but he was so skinny, like he was very young. He was 27 years old when I met him, and I was 21. So for me, it was like it's like they always say, like, you're Prince Charming, but I just admire him because he was so tall. And when he saw me, he hugged me, and he was so happy that he was able to find me at the airport. I think that was one of the most memorable moment, when he hugs me and he said, "Oh, I'm carrying your picture, looking for you." So he has my picture, and it's the same picture. It was myself on the same picture, because he was scared that it will be like a different a different Janet, So whatever in the picture, it was the same picture. So he was happy on that. He told me that.
Janet, your courtship is not traditional, and was there did you really feel something before he even came to the Philippines?
Yes, I really feel that I really feel in love with him, and also also he feel in love with me, because you know what happened? He was working at Weston Bakery. He was like he was making bread, and he doesn't make a lot of money. But what he did, after 1 year we were writing, he called me every week, once a week. So his mother told me that all his pay just go to the long distance, because before it was $1.49 per minute, and all his pay he spent on me just so that he can call me once a week.
Isn't that wonderful? My, Will you recommend the type of courtship?
Now,
Well,
now there's no pen pal anymore now. But the good thing also, me as a Filipina, he has a nephew here in Canada. When he saw me, he was like, I think 9 years old at the time. When he saw me, he always said that he will marry a Filipina. And then now he did marry a Filipina.
Oh,
Yeah, that was really nice.
Janet, does Danny know how to speak Tagalog or your dialect?
He doesn't know a lot of Tagalog or Visayan, but I teach him a few words. And the good thing, the funny thing with that, like sometimes when he comes home and then my mother tell him something, and my mother talk to him in Bisaya, and he pretends that he understand, but he didn't really understand. So no, he doesn't speak a lot of Tagalog, but he was very nice that he gave my mother a Filipino channel since my mother arrived here. So Danny sometimes watch Eat Bulaga with my mother during lunchtime. So that's Danny said, it's like, Lola, there's too much drama on Filipino movie. Everybody's always crying. So he watched the Filipino channel with my mother, and he just laughed, because my mother watched this series, and then he sits there beside my mother, and he said, Lola, they're crying again,
Janet, you dreamt of marrying a white man with blue eyes, blonde, and that luckily you had a pen pal that was Danny. What nationality or what origin is Danny?
Danny, his grandparents came from London, England, but they migrated in Canada. And Danny was born in Canada, and the only boy on the family of 5, and the youngest one. And he's very caring. He's very sweet. He have very good sense of humor, and also he likes wrestling. And when we were writing with each other, because I like wrestling too, so he was telling me that, okay, if Janet likes wrestling, I think she's the one. So when I came to Canada, we started talking about wrestling and everything. And also Danny, he's very nice because he took care also of his grandparents when his grandparents was in the nursing home. He was the one who's taking care of them. So I think I'm rubbing a lot on him because I'm taking a lot of elderly also. And he's a very wonderful man, and we love each other, and he loves me a lot.
Oh my, you both of you must be Hulk Hogan admirers.
Yes.
With wrestling, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and you understand the game. Anyway, with your with being a pen pal, did you get a picture of him, or you just visualize him, or what were your expectation of him when you first met him?
The first time I met him, I didn't really like him a lot because he was smoking in the hotel where he was staying. and I don't really like men that smoke. He never mentioned. I think he mentioned to me that he smoked, but when he arrived, he was smoking, and then I told him like, I hope that you will stop smoking. He said, yeah, maybe one day when we have children, I stop smoking. So he did stop smoking when I give birth to Jennifer. He did the cold turkey 10 times, and he really kept his promise that he will quit smoking. So it's been 28 years that he never smoked. So he kept his promise.
What Filipino food does your husband like most?
Oh, he likes pancit bihon. I make a lot of pancit bihon. One time we went to a Filipino party. He didn't know that he was eating a goat because they didn't tell him, and he really loves it a lot. And then when the guy told him that it was goat, and he said, "What's happening to me? I'm become cannibal now." You know? Oh my gosh, he likes adobo, chicken adobo, but mostly he likes the sotanghon and pancit bihon because he's very picky when it comes to food. So he only eat if he knows what I'm cooking. But I don't cook a lot of Filipino food at home because it's only me and my mother who eats a lot. That's why I'm gaining a lot of weight. Nobody he likes Canadian food a lot.
Were you expecting that when he went to visit you that you're gonna marry him?
I didn't really expect that when he went to the Philippines that he will marry me, but on his mind, he knows that he will marry me because he never been outside Canada at that time, and to go to Asia, it was really like he didn't even know that Philippines exists to begin with. So it was really interesting. He began to learn his geography about Asia. And actually, when he arrived from the Philippines, he was at the airport and we couldn't find him. And he was holding this picture of mine. I said, I'm looking for this woman. And the Filipino said, no, don't look for her. I have a sister that I can recommend you. And he said, no, I have to look for her, you know. And then it was my sister who found him because he was, in the Philippines in 1990. It was the airport. It was very like crowded, you know.
Mm.
And when tourists comes there, it was very hard. And then he was saying like, I need to find her, and he was holding my pictures looking for me, and he was so surprised that the guy said, don't look for her because I have a sister that's you can marry. Like he said, no. That was the bad experience he has because he never thought that somebody will just say like that in the Philippines, you know.
Mm.
Okay, so thank you, Janet. So we thank you, Montreal, for acknowledging the contributions that we Filipino Canadians have made. The Filipino Heritage Society of Montreal have raised awareness of who we are, what we stand for, and what we want to accomplish. So tonight, we thank you, Janet. As your journey continues, may I quote J.F. Kennedy, the late president, that he said, I will not ask what my country or my community can do for me, but what you can do for your community. And this is what the Filipino Heritage of Montreal, Society of Montreal does. We do for our community. Again, thank you, Janet, to all the panelists for tonight. Your journey continues, Janet. Good night.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good night.
Thank you.